Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Mega Man X4, a classic run-and-gun platformer by Capcom for the Sony PlayStation. As when I reviewed Mega Man Legends, I'll be playing this through an emulator, but I have ripped the game myself for my own copy, which you see here. First released in Japan in August of 1997 as Rockman X4, Mega Man X4 would hit the shores of America about a month thereafter. This was obviously the 4th game in the X series, and the 12th game overall, not counting spin-offs, of which there were quite a few by this point. Just as Mega Man 8 continued the classic series and carried it onto the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, X4 did the same for the X series. For those not familiar with the concept of the Mega Man series, classic or X, the concept is as such. You take on the role of the eponymous Mega Man X, though Zero is now a fully playable character, and we'll be looking at him in a bit. You have to travel from stage to stage, defeating robots known as Mavericks. You'll go through each stage with jumping and shooting as your primary tools. For mobility, you not only have a jump, but also a wall kick which can scale vertical sections, and a dash which quickly gives you a boost of speed to get out of the way of enemy attacks. In addition to your normal attack, X can also charge up his weapon to let loose a more powerful shot. But what really makes the Mega Man series stand out is that each time you defeat a boss, you gain a limited use special attack from them. Each of these acts in a different way. Web Spider's Lightning Web doubles as a temporary wall, allowing you to reach higher places. Storm Owl's Double Cyclone shoots out from both sides, while Frost Walrus's Frost Tower creates a short-lived shield of ice around you. Each weapon acts in a different manner, and every boss is weak to a certain weapon, encouraging you to try different strategies against each enemy. If you can't beat a particular boss, try fighting the others, and come back later with upgrades and possibly their weakness to help turn the tides in your favor. But getting new weapons from bosses isn't the only way X can power up. Hidden throughout the game are 4 upgrade capsules. Well, actually 5, which will enhance him with armor. 1 for his body, 1 for his head, 1 for his legs, and 1 for his arms. The leg armor allows X to perform his dash in midair or hover in the air for short periods of time. The body armor allows X to build up energy by taking damage and unleash it with a dash attack, during which he'll be invincible for a brief moment. The arm parts allow him to take his charge shot even further, unleashing a massive blast that leaves a damaging aura behind. Alternatively, you also have the option of taking a different arm part, which will let him save up 4 normal charge shots at once. But no one actually uses that. Regardless of which arm upgrade you take, you'll also be able to use it to charge the special weapons you obtain from bosses. And finally, you have the head armor, which might be the single most overpowered upgrade in the entire series. With it, you have unlimited ammo for your special weapons, so long as you're not charging them. Finally, you also have a number of items hidden throughout the game's 8 main stages. Each of them has a heart tank for you to find, which will slightly increase your maximum health, allowing you to double your starting health if you find all 8 of them. Also hidden are 2 sub-tanks, which will store excess health and can be used during tough fights to heal you mid-battle. There's also a W tank, which more or less does the same thing for weapon energy. Finally, you also have this item, which will refill your lives back to 4 whenever you load up your game again. Huzzah! As aforementioned, X4 brought a major change to the series. Zero is now a fully playable character. X3 toyed around with this idea, but you could only play as him for short periods of time. X4, on the other hand, has you selecting either hunter at the beginning of the game and then sticking with them throughout. Zero is sort of the game's hard mode. You have to get in close to attack enemies with his Z-Saber.
Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
Which means you're much more vulnerable to being attacked yourself. You'll still get new abilities by defeating bosses, but Zero's moves generally don't have to worry about weapon energy, with a single exception. Instead, you'll get things like a rising slash, a downward thrust, or the ability to double jump, all of which can be used freely once he obtains them. It should also be noted that Zero can find heart tanks and sub-tanks, but there won't be any armor upgrades for him to find, further limiting what he's capable of in the end. Presentation-wise, the game is a mixed bag. On one hand, the highly detailed sprite work still looks great, with characters and environments alike being wonderfully animated. The fluid animations still hold up over 20 years later. And the game even has some anime-style cutscenes, which do suffer a fair bit from the compression used to fit them on a CD, but still look great nonetheless. But then, if you saw my Mega Man Legends review, you likely already heard me rant about how bad the voice acting is in X4. And what can I really say about it? It's absolutely atrocious. I don't even mean mediocre or making a few missteps, I mean that every single line is wholly insufferable. I don't speak Japanese and thus can't say if the original version is good, but there's clearly some level of effort put in there. But this dub is one of the most horrendous examples of voice acting you will ever find, full of miscasts, dry reads, and audio quality that's inferior to my cheap mic.
I too share the general sentiment. Take heed, we have no other choice. Let us fight valiantly, with courage and pride, without fear, for we are the Repliforce, the most powerful army in history!
Then we have the plot. As stated before, Mega Man was never really a story-driven series. Though X4 does make some attempt to have more than games of the past, it's not much. Basic premise is that the Repliforce, a group of Reploid separatists that believe that Maverick Hunters are effectively willing slaves to humanity, is framed for the destruction of a massive facility known as the Sky Lagoon. This launches the Maverick Hunters and Repliforce into a war with a shadowy figure pulling the strings. That's not spoiler territory, that is literally the first cutscene of X's story mode. If you've played any of the X games before, you know exactly who the villain's going to be. Not only because Sigma is always the villain, but also because you can clearly see his face even when it's cloaked in shadows. Which begs the question, why have him hidden in the shadows and wearing that cloak to begin with in the first place? Regardless, I must say, the game's story has a lot of untapped potential. It's clear that Repliforce are not evil, and it could be a very interesting subject to explore. Reploids are built by humans, but have full sentience and wills of their own, so it's natural to expect that some humans would not want to recognize them as people. But the problem is, it's not actually explored. It's merely background fluff, and we never find out how much of Repliforce's worries are real and how much are only imagined. It also doesn't help that, like most of the X games, humans are barely present in the series at all. Actually, in this game, there's not a single human that appears on screen. You at least had Dr. Kane in the first 3 titles, but he's never mentioned again after that. Did he die of old age or something? Regardless, this actually has the veneer of a very mature subject that would have been great to see the game dig into, and really misses out on what would have been a great chance to see the series story taken much more seriously. If you choose to play as Zero, it reveals a little bit about his past. I'm not going to go into a spoiler section as it's really not worth the effort here. You get confirmation about what we already knew about Zero, you fight Repliforce, you fight Sigma, save the day, the end. That being said, fans of the Mega Man series really weren't playing for story at this point. Although the series would begin to weave a surprisingly complex narrative from this point forward, up until this point, the story has basically been Dr. Wily's trying to take over the world, Mega Man stops him. 100 years later, Sigma is trying to take over the world, Mega Man X stops him. I suppose it would be too much to suddenly expect that the story would be given a great deal of attention, but there's just so much wasted potential here. Nonetheless, it's still a solid game. Boss weaknesses are rather overtuned, which makes playing as X a complete joke once you obtain the appropriate weapon. However, playing as Zero provides a much more challenging game for those who want it, so I can't really complain about the drop in difficulty compared to the rest of the series. Gameplay is still smooth, fluid, and fast-paced, and there's a lot of variety in the boss fights and the weapons you gain from them. It's pretty easy to ignore the lackluster story and deplorable voice acting when previous X games really didn't focus on them anyways. All in all, I find that Mega Man X4 holds up pretty well and is worthy of a respectable 8.2 out of 10. If you're looking to play Mega Man X4, the easiest way to do so today is probably through the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, which compiles it along with the first 3 X games. It's currently available for all major consoles as well as PC. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Mega Man X4? Can you think of a game with worse voice acting? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And please remember to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.